Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast update for the southern U.S. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I'm willing to bet you can find the cold front here if I just pull up a map of temperatures here at 9 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Much of the southern U.S. still in the warm sector here. Muggy 60s and 70s from the Gulf Coast all the way into the Great Lakes. Behind the cold front, much different story. We've got teens across the Dakota, single digits, where we have snow on the ground in parts of Montana up into the Canadian Prairie. 30s and 40s immediately behind the front, and you can find that as you make your way into Oklahoma and Texas, especially across the Panhandle region. We've got some cooler temperatures in that area. Now this front is going to try and make its way off to the east, and it will make its way off to the east just a little bit further as we get its way, or make our way through the next 24 to 36 hours, but cold air is really going to have a hard time making its way into the south, at least over the next couple of weeks. It's going to threaten to do so and maybe reset us back to more seasonally appropriate levels at times. But we really have a, broadly speaking, of a warm next couple of weeks to look forward to here across the southern U.S. Let's jump in, though. I won't spare or spill the whole story here while just showing the first couple of maps. This is the satellite here as we get going this morning. A couple things to point out. First, here's the frontal boundary, again, being separated by or a line of showers and storms separating the warm and humid air mass off to the south and to the east from the colder air mass back to the northwest. And then we still have Eta spinning around across the Caribbean right now, making its way up toward Cuba, eventually making its way back across parts of the Gulf, and then finding its way toward the Gulf Coast at some point, but we'll talk about the uncertainty that remains with Eta here in just a moment. Here's a quick look at the radar this morning. Again, a line of showers and storms from the Great Lakes into parts of the Red River region as we get started here this Tuesday morning. Now looking at a couple of the immediate threats here, the hazards map from the National Weather Service on the left is really highlighted or dominated by winter weather. On the backside of our cold front here, we're talking about a winter storm, some ice accumulation and heavy snow from parts of Nebraska into the Great Lakes, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. We've also got a severe weather threat along and ahead of the cold front, parts of the Midwest, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, parts of southern Wisconsin, looking at the risk for some strong winds and maybe a few tornadoes as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. And then here's the latest from Eta, from the National Hurricane Center, again, with it meandering into the Gulf of Mexico as we approach the weekend, potentially making its way over land as we get into the back half of the weekend, into early next week. But here's some of the spread that remains with our high-resolution guidance with Tropical Storm Eta. And again, we've got solutions taking it east, or west, across the Gulf, or east across Florida. And again, the National Hurricane Center, the experts in all this, taking Eta eventually northward, still toward the Panhandle there. But this is a low confidence forecast, again, as there's just not much guiding Eta. What we do have confidence in, though, is the chilly waters as you get closer to the Gulf. So this is not one that is expected to be intensifying right as it makes its way toward landfall. Not looking at much in the way of, an intense, I should back off on this. I'm not a tropical expert. What I'm trying to say is the rainfall is going to be the biggest threat here, the moisture that comes northward with Eta. Now let's take a look at the cold front as it makes its way east, across the eastern Corn Belt, across the Mid-South, and tries to dive in across the southern U.S., but you can see as we get toward the end there, it really struggles to do so. We are quickly, even as the cold front moves through Texas and Oklahoma, modifying this air mass and warming it back up across the west to more seasonally appropriate levels. We'll take a look at the rainfall out ahead of that, and again, we're expecting a chance for some strong storms along the cold front in the Midwest, winter weather on the backside of it across the Dakotas into the upper Midwest. This is now as we get into Tuesday evening, watching for moisture coming from the Atlantic and coming from the Gulf, leading to scattered thunderstorms across the southeast today, scattered showers and thunderstorms. This is as we get into sunset this evening, into the overnight tonight, and then we'll take it into sunrise now on Wednesday morning. Eta continuing to make its way north of Cuba into the Gulf. We'll continue to see the cold front make its way off to the east, should be somewhere from Kentucky and Tennessee down toward the Mississippi-Louisiana border as we wake up tomorrow morning. Out ahead of that, expect widely isolated shower and thunderstorm activity to continue through the day on Wednesday. Again, much drier on the backside of this front. We've got moisture coming in from the Gulf and from the Atlantic, though, ahead of that front. So that's where we'll keep that at least isolated to scattered shower and storm threat in the forecast. Now, rain could become heavy at times across the Carolinas as we move into Wednesday night, into Thursday, as we continue to kind of pool moisture across this area out ahead of that frontal boundary, and then additionally with Eta eventually making its way northward here as we get closer to the weekend. And we'll look a little bit longer range here in just a moment, but this is a look at the next week of total rainfall accumulation that's forecast here across the region. And again, you can see it starting to stack up as we talk about the mid-Atlantic down into the southeast, kind of from northern Alabama, northern Georgia, northeastward into Pennsylvania. That's where we're talking about somewhere on the order of 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, potentially higher here where we get some terrain influence here, maybe local amounts of 3 to 5 inches of rainfall over the next 7 days. The way that that happens, well, we're going to bring this first trough. Let me go ahead and jump back. We're looking at 500 millibar winds within the mid-levels of the jet stream across North America. Now here's the wave that's triggering the winter storm across the upper Midwest and the severe weather threat across the mid-Mississippi Valley. And you can see how it lifts to the northeast instead of moving off to the east. That's why much of the rainfall threat and the severe weather threat going to be lifting northeast of the south over the next 24 to 36 hours. That's also why the cold front really gets hung up and doesn't make such quick eastward progress across the south. Again, much of the upper level energy taking its trajectory off to the northeast. We get another wave that comes around on the backside though here as we get into the weekend. This is the one right here that's going to help give Eta a push finally off to the northeast, but then also give us some more upper level support along this frontal boundary to give us some additional rain and thunderstorm activity across the mid-Atlantic into the southeast, and helps kind of pile on the rainfall as we head into the end of the week. So we can visualize all this now with the precipitation forecast from the European operational model. Again, the next couple of afternoon and evenings, watch for scattered shower and thunderstorm activity from the Carolinas into Georgia and Alabama and across portions of northern Florida. This is now as we get into Wednesday afternoon and evening. Again, you just see the light green shading there, patches of darker green. That is just indicative of the isolated to scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, really disorganized in nature. We'll take it into Wednesday night now. Thursday morning, Eta creeping north toward the Florida Panhandle as we get into Thursday night. So says the European operational model and the experts at the National Hurricane Center. We'll take it into Friday now. Continuing to see the scattered rainfall threat across the southeast. We're now seeing the next disturbance, the next upper level wave coming around the backside here as we get into Friday and Saturday. So some rain possible out ahead of that wave across the Red River region here, Oklahoma down into Texas as we get into the early part of the weekend, Friday night into Saturday. This is the same time that Eta will be making its way north. So as we get into the end of the work week, Friday into Saturday, rain re-emerging across the southern plains, the Red River, rain continuing across the southeast with Eta making its way off to the north and to the east. And then eventually the wave kicks all the way off to the east, taking Eta and the rainfall threat with it as we get into this is Saturday night, Sunday morning, now getting into Sunday night and Monday. Now we have high pressure move into the region. That's going to dry us out, at least temporarily, as we head into the early part of next week. So what was the theme there, really? Well, almost daily chances for scattered rain and thunderstorms across the southeast from the Gulf Coast into the mid-Atlantic. We're going to keep it dry as you head back toward the west until we get into Friday night and Saturday. The next wave emerges from the Rockies, from the desert southwest, reintroducing the chance for at least some light rain back across parts of Oklahoma and North Texas. But as we're talking about, worsening drought as you make your way further to the west, really not going to be the answer to our prayers here as we talk about that Friday-Saturday system. We do get the rain shadow effect here initially, and much of the rainfall here where we're talking about measurable precipitation on the order of a few tenths to a half of an inch is going to be west here toward the Oklahoma-Texas Panhandle border. Total rainfall across the mid-Atlantic down into the southeast again, from northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and then northeastward up the mid-Atlantic toward Pennsylvania, where you see the red shading there. That's where we're again talking about the potential for 1 to 2 inches, locally higher amount 1 to 3, and then some of the terrain influence here, maybe 3 to 5 across the Carolinas into portions of northern Georgia. Here's a look at the latest drought monitor. If you haven't seen it thus far, again, when we talk about where we're expecting the rain from the Friday-Saturday system, kind of expecting that cutoff to be somewhere right in this area. So unfortunately, likely going to be looking at a continuation and a worsening of the drought conditions here across the Panhandle region back into eastern New Mexico. Now quickly, I want to just show you the upper level pattern as it evolves over the next 7 to 10 days, just to show you where we ultimately end up heading into the back half of November is this kind of relaxed, loosely ridged pattern, and that's going to lead to a continuation of generally warm conditions across the eastern half of the country, and that includes us, of course, down here in the south. So we will see cold fronts at times try to make their way in, again, like the one we're seeing right now, but with the active storm track really wanting to take much of the upper level energy off to the north and to the east, it's going to leave us pretty relaxed, pretty quiet in terms of cold air over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So here's your high temperatures over the next few days. Our highs today, again, cooler off to the west, warmer off to the east. We'll see that cold front make its way in during the overnight into the day tomorrow, but the air mass back behind it really begins to modify pretty quickly. So about as cold as it gets here is going to be highs in the 60s across portions of Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas as we head into the end of the week. We really start to warm back up as we head into the weekend.